Hey guys, welcome back to Creating Creators Podcast. On today's episode, I had a chance to talk with Evan Aparicio. Evan is better known as Waterwippin Evan on YouTube and Instagram, and if you haven't seen his work, you really do need to check it out. I was really excited to talk to Evan. When I taught at Calera High School, I heard about a student who had recently changed over to homeschool because his music video career had really taken off. Evan was that student, and it was really neat to connect with him back then, and it was incredible to connect with him again for today's podcast. Evan has an incredible story. It was really interesting to hear about that very first music video and sort of the trajectory that it set for his career, as well as how Evan has grown and matured as an artist. And really, it was incredible to see some of his most recent work and sort of the direction that he's going now. I really did enjoy talking with Evan, and I think this is definitely a conversation that you'll enjoy as well. Check it out. Evan, and I always hesitate a little bit with last names, but it's Aparicio?
Yeah, Aparicio.
Okay,
Yeah,
Aparicio.
yeah,
Okay, all right. Well, and better known as Waterwippin Evan, right?
yep.
Okay, so first of all, thank you so much for jumping on this call with me today.
Yeah,
I
no
know
problem.
your schedule's been evidently really crazy. I'm sure you've done a
Yeah,
lot of international travel over the last couple of years.
yeah, I have. Actually working on going to get my passport replaced because it's damaged just from everything. Traveling, being in the washing machine, the whole 9 yards. It's went through the whole 9 yards. So
Usually, people are like they're carrying their wallet around so much their wallet will go through a washing machine. Not too many people carry their passport around so often that it ends up going through the washing machine.
yeah, it's definitely like irresponsible.
No.
Probably thinking about it now, I'm just kind of like, man, I wish I didn't have to, because I got to go to New Orleans to get it. I thought I was going to be able to get it rushed online, but not the case.
Yeah, yeah. Well, how often are you traveling right now?
Um, just well, I wouldn't really know how to put a number on it because it's pretty frequent. Um, I'm definitely frequent from Alabama to Nashville, back and forth a lot, just due to like family and going back home. But maybe more than 20 times, 30 times a year. Just a
Okay.
wild number.
Yeah, yeah. I mean
So,
that's a lot. And more recently, you've done a lot of international travel. I know. I
yeah.
mean, I saw you in Dubai
Yeah.
within the last year, right?
Dubai, yeah, that was definitely crazy. Crazy experience for sure. It was Dubai. We went from to begin with, we went from Italy for 2 days, left Italy, went to Romania for a festival, left Romania, went to Prague in the Czech Republic, and then from there, Israel to Dubai.
Well, and I
So,
think last time you and I actually saw each other in person was in
yeah.
Calera, Alabama. That's your hometown.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I was teaching at Calera High School, and you actually came in to speak with my class and sort of share some of your experience. It
Yeah.
was really cool. I mean, it was cool, I think, for me and my students to sort of see somebody from the area doing, some of the kind of stuff that we were teaching, or I was teaching at the time, because I was teaching video a lot. Hype videos were really big, I think, at Clear High
Yeah.
School the year I was there. But also, I would imagine that was pretty neat for you. I know for me to go back into my high school, especially considering
Yeah.
sort of your exit from high school, I would
Yeah.
say is pretty interesting.
I mean, yeah, for sure. I guess, well, I think in that year I was still like homeschooled technically, but obviously I think by that time I was just kind of over it and moved on from like even being able to do that and focusing on that to just straight video work. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
cool.
Well, there's definitely, I think, going back to that time. There's something later on I'll bring up, because sort of what ended up starting a lot of your career, um, revolved around people that were very much still in high school, but then a lot of big changes happened like right after that for a lot of people connected. I don't want to get into too many details because I want the slides to sort of help me get there. But anyway, all that to say, I appreciate the fact that you came and shared with my class then, and I appreciate you jumping
Yeah,
on this call with me now, man.
yeah,
It's cool.
it was cool for sure. It was a little funny to do it just because like the class was like most of the kids that I would be in like same grade with, so
Definitely.
it's a
Well, I
little
mean,
different.
I think that's even how I found out about you. Is so many of the students, once we started doing some video stuff, so many of the students were like, "Oh man, you should see Evan. Like his stuff is so cool." And I was like, "Who's Evan?" And then they started saying, "Oh, Waterwippin," and they were like, "Check out his video." And
Yeah,
he's doing video full time. He's about to. I don't know if you had already moved out to LA or you were in the
I
process of
didn't.
moving out there.
Yeah, I was really back and forth a lot.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that
but
was
yeah,
it was neat to see that sort of moment, I think, and it's been neat to sort of follow your journey really ever since then. So, but if you don't mind, I'm going to go ahead and get started into some of these slides. So, tell us just in general, who is Evan Aparicio? Like, who are you? Tell a little bit about your background.
well, I guess to begin with, super started off like super outdoorsy and just always adventurous into like different aspects of everything, and always had this mentality of just trying to master whatever it was that I was getting into. Like I went through baseball, football, soccer, and a whole bunch of stuff like that. Fishing, which is a little odd for me, but I don't know. I always had this just get out and do something mindset, and it didn't really adhere to like most of the stuff that everyone else was doing, and always wanted to try something new, and just feel like for me it was more just like curious, adventurous, and it just one thing led to the other. It was definitely a little tough dealing with that growing up. Like I skated a lot. People always like had something to say. And probably about 8th grade is when I started like the photos, like photography is what I originally wanted to do. So definitely got made fun of for that. I always heard the term like, oh, you just click a button and it's that easy and blah 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 blah, and just there's a lot of stuff that I had to deal with being more so like I guess you say outcast when it came to that, and just how I carried myself. But yeah, one thing led to the other, and photography into videos, and yeah, it just took off from there. Very unexpected. I had this whole plan for when I was doing photos. Like I would tell my mom in the car I want to open up like a little photo studio in Calera. And to me at the time that was like a huge thing for me, like a huge, dream or just goal. And did my first music video that I had absolutely no idea how to do. And like no idea. Like I just got hit up to do a video and was like, yeah, well, I mean, I'll give it a shot. I'm not going to say no. That was my thing. I wouldn't say no to anything. I would, try it at least. And that ended up changing the whole trajectory of like my main plan, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I
And
understand that you actually did, and this is NYB Namir, right?
YBN,
YBN. I'm
YB,
sorry, YBN
you're
Namir.
good.
I'm really I'm not in the music scene. We have a mutual friend that we'll be talking about soon in this chat, but he's very much in the music scene and makes fun of me often for not being in the music scene. But I say that he doesn't really
Yeah.
make fun of me. But anyway, but YBN Namir, from what I understand, you did like photos for him before, and that was sort of how he knew you had a camera. Is that right? Or
No, so I like when I was doing the photography stuff, I was like I made it a separate account, and like from I guess the Waterwippin Evan account. So I just made another one, and it was my photography page. And I would have a lot of people hit me up to just, do portraits, and I would take portraits of friends and post them and just, experiment with all that, and ended up doing a lot of prom stuff and weddings. And then that led to me going down to downtown Birmingham a lot more. Ended up shooting for a hat company, local like clothing, and then he found me because of that. And he asked if I could do a video for him based off of just my presence in Birmingham at least. And yeah, that's how it all started. First day I met him was the day that we shot the music video.
That's crazy. And
And
I
it
mean,
actually, the crazy thing is it almost didn't happen. I think he hit me up in May and then didn't hit me back for a long time. He used to send me like all of his mixtapes in between. And then I think September rolled around and we actually finally did the video. So we were in communication a little bit beforehand, but we never met up, or never happened until September.
yeah. Well, it's definitely, looking back, I can imagine just slight changes here and there. It wouldn't have happened, but it was just that right
Yeah,
trajectory, that right circumstance that sort of brought it all about.
yeah, for sure. It's kind of crazy how it happened, because by like a hair, if it didn't happen, then nothing would have changed or anything.
Well, and I'm curious, like the journey that you've been on now as sort of a creator. Um, what what kind of evolution have you personally gone through? Because I know, I know you were first shooting with a Nikon, I think is what it
Yeah,
was.
Nikon.
Now I see you sporting a red periodically.
Yeah,
I've seen you more recently go, back to the. I guess maybe you found your way a little bit back to Sony.
yeah,
so,
for sure. I think I
but
took
what's
the with that I took it was always like the bigger and better camera. I was like, I gotta have it, and it took me a while to realize that it's not really about like what you're shooting with. As long as it's durable and good, then like you just gotta add your style to it and make it how you want to look, and it's gonna come out the same way.
Yeah, I've always told my students when I was in the classroom, and I've always heard it said, sort of the best camera is the one that's in your hands.
Yeah,
And I think part of that is just the idea of, you can always wish and hope for this other camera, but the one that's in your hands is the one you have the opportunity to use. Plus, I think the other aspect to that is, you know, it's not about the camera, it's about the person that's holding the camera. And if you've got the skills to make something great, you can do that with any camera. You can do that with an iPhone.
yep,
You can do that with an old camcorder. It's a
exactly,
matter of like, what are you going to do with it? So,
exactly,
well,
definitely.
what's been your growth as a sort of video creator?
Really, really was just because I jumped into like all of it, not really knowing a single thing. So with all the big uproar of just changes and people I'm meeting and artists I'm working with, it took me, I was still learning as I was going up. So one big thing was really just sitting back and like actually taking advice from people and listening, because I was pretty bad at that. But um yeah, it's just really just taking everything that someone tells you and actually implementing it into like the work, and really just being, maybe asking a friend to come on set, and just learning and like being hands-on. I feel like it's more of a hands-on thing when it comes to like trying to find your way and change how you're doing things when it for music videos specifically.
Yeah.
I definitely learned and evolved with a lot of that, going from little videos, doing it by myself, meeting up like at a gas station to go shoot a video and having no idea, to like planning it out, hiring a crew, and the whole 9 yards with it. So it's definitely been a big change.
Is there anything looking back at that first video or thinking back to it that you're like, like even back then I was doing this right? Or do you feel like looking back at it, you're like, oh my gosh, man, like I didn't know at all what I was doing.
I definitely analyze it. And I definitely like, because a lot of my friends that I'll hang out with, like if we're with some people that don't know who I am or whatever, they'll put it up on the TV, and I'm just like, oh man, no, don't do that. But um, yeah, I mean, I had the basics down for sure for it, so I would say that. Um, I don't think there would be anything that I would want to change on it just because of where it's gone. And there's also things that I look at when I watch it, and I'm just like, wow, I probably wouldn't put that much time into like what I did on the video now, if that makes sense. Like
Yeah.
certain things, certain effects, or stuff like that. Like wow, I took the time to do this. It took me a long time, and I probably would not have the patience to do it anymore.
Well, I
But
know early on, just talking about your work a little bit. I know I'm sort of bypassing any of your journey we're sort of talking about. But if I do skip over something, definitely make sure that I touch on it if it's something that you want to touch on. But talking about your work, man, I've seen such an evolution in your work. I mean, the image that we have on here, the very first one on the far left, you did a lot of animated graphics kind of stuff. You would do a lot of like the glowing kind of effect on
yeah,
lines or shapes. And now I think these other two images. I mean, you definitely the middle one there with NLE Choppa. You definitely do a lot of I say a lot. You do some effects in there. They're definitely less, I guess, in your face a little bit. They're more a
yeah,
little more subtle. And then on the far right, that music video really had very few like post effects. It had, I think, in this shot specifically, it had more of like a slow shutter effect
yeah.
on it.
Practical,
Yeah, very
like
practical or even
yeah.
in camera kind of effects. Have you has that been an intentional sort of transition, or has that been like a practical one, or is that just you as an artist sort of changing over time?
I would definitely say it's me as like an artist changing. Um, because when I first like with the first couple video or I did a lot of music videos, but the first couple years, there's always the trend of the crazy weird looking VFX, the drawing, the lines, and it was cool and it was stuff that I liked and I would do it, but it wasn't really what I envisioned and like what I wanted my work to look like. I'm more focused on the cinematic, and I'm a big fan of like I definitely watch a lot of movies. I'm a big fan of like suspense movies, and I just like how the way they're shot, very cinematic, moody, and just when there is something in there, maybe practical, like in camera, that's just like, oh wow, how did that happen? And I wanted to keep people on their toes with just like how something looks and kind of make you question. So the artistry definitely has changed from, I would like to say, going from what people wanted to see to more of like what I want to see in hopes of people liking the outcome.
Well, speaking of that, sort of that, you mentioned sort of like this dramatic or sort of cinematic kind of look. This video right here
That
is
is
beautiful, man. It
that
really
is
is.
that is probably my best piece of work when it comes to what I want my music videos to look like.
Yeah, no, the I mean, this shot right here is incredible, but so much of this, especially the woman in here when she's like, I guess, sort of grieving or just really struggling in the bathtub, like that shot. So many of those shots are just beautiful. How are you now like more and more being in that director role away from the
Yes.
camera, or are you still pretty hands on with the camera now?
So really, just for instance, like with this video, I don't think that I touched the camera, maybe other than like one shot. And I had a whole crew of like 30 people there for this. And that's what I would prefer to do. And I do a lot of that. I'm definitely hands on and I'll definitely get in there and shoot. But when I have a bigger budget, and stuff that will allow me to hire a crew, is definitely, I'm always going to take that like option to just sit back and really have it come out how I want it to, and guide people and show, have someone else do it so I can really focus on the vision of the whole project.
Yeah, this one, I mean, it really is beautiful. I was
Yeah,
watching this
it's
yesterday. Like, it's incredible. These shots inside the living room and then the shots inside the bathroom are really beautiful. The lighting looks incredible. The colors are great. It's sort of a really cool story. Just the way that the visuals. I mean, you don't even need the music with it. The visuals alone just communicate so much.
yeah, that's definitely what I was. It turned out probably spot on for what I had down in the treatment and what I was looking for. And yeah, it honestly got to the point to where we ran out of time on like the song with the footage that we had to tell the whole story, so it had to be shortened. And you know, I'll definitely get carried away with that, like telling
Yeah.
the story and just making sure it's perfect. This is like a video that I would show anybody if I'm, trying to sell my work or reassure them on anything.
Yeah.
But you
So
don't get
I
a lot like this.
say that
It's kind
again.
of, you don't really get a lot of projects like this though, that are like, it's very, it's very hard to find an artist that makes a music like this and or is just gonna have the budget for it. So
Yeah.
you don't get to do it all the time, but I guess it gives you some time to build up a plan for when it does come.
All right. So I mentioned earlier our mutual friend. I've got a he's coming to mind too much for me not to mention him, but Cole Peavy.
Yes, Cole. I've
Yeah.
known him since I was probably, I want to say, a small kid, 6 years old, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. So Cole and I work together currently. So Cole, we both do video photography for Shelby County Schools, and he shared something with me that I'll share with you shortly. But one of the things that he has sort of shown me, because I'm not huge in the music scene in general. I just didn't grow up that way. But he is huge in music and music videos even more so. And we were we were watching some one day, and he came, or he shared with me, like, Zach Bryan. I don't know if
Mm.
you're familiar with many of his
Yes.
music videos, but what is it, the Oklahoma Smoke Show? Like, that music video is incredible, and that's sort of what I think of when I see this. It's those music videos that are almost standalone short films, even
Yes.
apart from the music. I mean, the visuals, the way that those things are shot, they feel more like movies
Yeah.
than they feel like a typical music video. And that's what I
Yeah.
thought whenever I saw this, man. It really is a beautifully shot piece.
Thank you. Thank you.
Another beautifully shot piece that I want to talk about with you, and one that definitely I think has gotten a lot of attention,
Oh
is
wow, this
Champion.
one. Oh man.
Yeah,
This
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 seemed
video
like
took
one that. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah, this video took about 6 months to do
Well,
almost.
you traveled all over, and there's so many people that are featured in it, and here I am with my internet not not working on me suddenly. Let me refresh that. Yeah, so this video is great, and the some of my favorite shots were these underwater shots that
Mm.
are early on in it, but it's just beautiful. I mean, the drone works good too, especially around the pool, but those shots right there, and the way he was like standing with his arms crossed. I mean, so much of that's just beautiful, man. This was and this one is one that I don't know. The Obviously the story's not really about like a narrative
Correct.
necessarily. It was more about, I guess, champions in general and showcasing various champions. Uh,
Exactly.
but at the same time, it was a great video. Not to mention, you got to be around some really cool people.
Yeah, that was definitely a wild time, and it definitely like put me in a little bit of a shock coming into this year after doing this video, just because of the rate that we were shooting at, and the travel and all of that was just so hectic. I was never at the house, and now, you know, that was only one project, and it felt like I was doing. They technically were every location that we did was technically a project, if that would make sense, going into one. So it's this video was a huge piece for sure.
What was it like going back and editing this? I mean, did you do the editing
Yes,
yourself?
yeah. So originally, by the time, so we had all of the footage done, everything was like shot, and then I was looking for a big post production company to do it, and I found one. We ended up doing that, moving forward with that, and the artist didn't like it, so at all. There was always like something, and he wanted me to edit the video. It was very like persistent with just not liking it, so kind of wasted my money with the whole post company, and ended up doing this all by myself in maybe 3 or 4 days.
Wow. I
Yeah,
mean, I can
it was.
imagine it, that much travel. I would imagine there was tons of footage to sort
Oh
of go
man.
through. Were you doing that even with the production company? Had you already done your selects that you sent to them, or were you having to do that with those within those 3 days?
So with that, it was about 8 terabytes of footage. Yeah. So
All red footage, right?
yep. And then I had to. It was 8 terabytes. I had to buy two more hard drives, so another 8 terabytes to make a copy and give it over to them. And I just labeled everything for them and let them go through it, because it was all pretty straightforward stuff. But it never. Yeah, it was definitely tough. Like I think with just the amount and the concept of it was more, me and the artist were more in tune of how it should look, and it would just, we couldn't get it over to anyone to explain. So yeah, it was the selects I never put in, and for 3 days, the 3 days of editing was, it happened after probably about 2 or 3 weeks of trying to get this right with the company. So it took a while, but yeah, it
What
was tough.
what would you say has been like one of your highlights of your career at this point? Because I mean, obviously, I mean, watching this video and some of your other ones too. I mean, you've been in some, especially your social media content. You've been in some really incredible places, around some incredible people, doing some very incredible things at times. Has there been a moment in your career over the last few years that really stands out as just being like sort of one of those greatest moments?
I would I would say that video is probably the full capture of it, because that was, man, that was a crazy time. Just being able to meet all these people and have it, I think it was just the feeling of having the control to like get this vision out the way I wanted it to, with no, really no bumps in the road that were like detrimental to anything. Or obviously it was stressful, but I think that was probably my most appreciative time in my career. A definite like step up for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I can look back on it and be like, yeah, that I definitely did that.
I do want to talk about this very first project. I know we've sort of alluded to it already and talked about it some, but rubbing off the paint. I was watching this again actually yesterday, and or maybe it was the day before yesterday. But anyway, I was watching it. So much of this is sort of like what I would call, I guess, raw and sort of, I mean, you see the sort of focus shifting in and out and
Yep.
stuff at times. Were you manually focusing back then, or were you
Yes.
okay? I know Nikon back then. There goes my thumbs up. Nikon back then was historically, rough on the autofocus.
Yes.
So I wasn't sure if that was something intentional, kind of focus shifting, or if that was, just what was happening.
Yeah, it was definitely intentional. With photography, I had this, I wouldn't say hate. I would just say like I had this feeling of like, okay, using autofocus. takes away from, the feel of actually capturing an image and it being your image, or just you know, the attachment to it, to the work. I felt like it was a little bit of a cheat code, which obviously I learned, can't just be like that forever because you're gonna need autofocus. But yeah, that was all hand focused, and obviously there was a little bit of out of focus moments in there.
Well, I mean, I think that's what's cool about video. Photography is a little bit different. Photography, if you've got that thing out of focus, of course, now I say that, I think there's probably a lot of artistic ways that people are using out of
Yeah,
focus too. But typically, when something's out of focus, that's a problem in photography. But in video, as long as it sort of passes focus, like I feel like you can get away with it a little bit
correct.
more
Yeah.
so. But speaking of this video, so I was watching just some stuff about this video in general, and this guy here, he's the guy that did the actual
Isaac.
music track, and he
Yeah.
talks about how he had done this music track, he had put it out there, and all of a sudden he gets word that there's this song that's using his music track, and it's sort of blowing up.
Yeah.
Um, and he talks about sort of his ideas sort of behind how he made it, why he included certain pieces in it. But it seems like, you got YBN Namir, Waterwippin Evan, and then this guy also, like all three of y'all seem to really just boom after this video.
Yeah, that definitely. And he lives overseas as well. So it was just kind of crazy to have that connection to overseas, and then here in America. At a point in time, it was definitely us three, and we'd always talk, and just a little, like, group. And I believe we did another video before Rubbing Off the Paint blew up, in the midst maybe, and he did the beat for that as well. It was like a little trio almost. But the music business is definitely a wild thing to be in. So you know everything. I don't know. I would say it wasn't just like it didn't all come together, I guess, how we wanted it to, just because of business stuff. But yeah, it was definitely blowing up and everywhere, and everybody's ear.
Well, and I even watched sort of an interview with YB and the Mirror afterwards, and they were asking him, like, going back to school, because he stayed in
Mm,
school for a while after this, and they're like, going back to school, and your principals, like, what was their reaction? And he's like, like, as soon as I came in, they pretty much took me right to the office
yep.
and brought his mom in, and basically
Yes.
ended up kicking him out of school. It sounds like um,
Yeah. They didn't
they,
want to let him graduate or walk the stage or whatever it was.
and it was because of, from what I understand, having the guns in the video, and there was something else he talked about that was sort of, I guess, a problem for them. But it sounds like he was actually in Jefferson County schools because
Yes.
he talks about he thought they were going to send him to Star. And Star, it's funny because I actually used to work in Jefferson County schools, and I worked at the alternative school as a teacher.
Mm,
The program I was part of was Reach, and then there was another program in Tarrant that was what they called Star, and they also had a Reach there as well. And so I was like, he's got to be in Jefferson County schools if that
yeah,
was the
it was
case.
Clay Chalkville or something
Okay,
over
yeah,
there.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it was just it's interesting to hear sort of his experience. He said he ended up doing online school for a little while. I don't know that he finished it. It made it sound like maybe he
Yeah.
he wanted to finish and then ended up not finishing.
That's funny because I used to do his some of his homework. Yeah.
Okay.
I would have they would his mom and then would ask me if I could if I could do the homework. So I was
Wow.
doing some of his homework, yeah.
Well, what did y'all both have some similar experiences? I mean, did you have I mean, obviously your face wasn't necessarily on the video, so I mean, I'm assuming the school didn't necessarily come after you like that. But did y'all have some
Yeah.
similar experiences as far as like, you know, not being able to, finish school for a similar reason, or was it?
Well, the thing with that was I was already out of school prior, like a year before. So I was in Calera from ninth grade to then 10th grade. I think I left the first 2 weeks of 10th grade to go homeschool because it was originally going to be in I was trying to find a private school, and then it was too late. So ended up just doing homeschooling. So I was already out for a little bit and didn't really have any problems with that. I don't know how that would have been if I were to be in school. It'd probably be a
Yeah.
little bit hectic, but nothing too bad. More so just a lot of like recognition and stuff like that from people that I knew.
Well, there is one other thing that I feel like I need to ask about. So this, I don't. Have you ever seen this video?
Yeah, the Cam Hollard.
Yes. So his mom reacts to this music video, specifically reacting to. I think what she mostly points out is the gun pointed at the camera, or just guns in general. I think in it, and then also the use of the N word over and over again in this video,
Yeah,
were things
yeah.
that she was like, I just, and she even talks about the music artist as being somebody like, he's got a great look, he's got a great sound, but then he does all that stuff like. And my main reason for bringing this up is I can imagine just there's always that kind of criticism, and I'm always curious, like the people that are in it, how does that criticism sort of, how, how does that hit you? How do you respond to it? How do you feel about it yourself as somebody that's, I guess part of these productions, because this kind of imagery, these kind of phrases are common in, especially this type of music specifically, but it seems like even more and more types of music.
Yeah, it I would say back then it was more of a shock factor for the video, which would help it. So the reaction I would get, and any other artist, including Namir, would get, was just do more of it. People are gonna talk about it, but think as we go on, it just got more normal and normal. Like it is almost normalized to do that. Doesn't really, I wouldn't say it really like affected me or him in a certain way when people say that, but it's really just based on your mindset when it comes to, when it comes to all of it, and if you're gonna let it get to you.
Yeah, I also think of that movie. What's the Alec Baldwin? He was in when
Russ, or was it Russ?
I don't remember the name of the movie. The one where the actor got shot, or no,
Mm-hmm.
the camera
Yeah.
operator got shot because there was a loaded, like fully loaded gun. I mean, I know this isn't the only video that you've shot that's had guns pointed
Oh
at the
man.
camera. Has there ever been situations where you were nervous or scared
Oh
even? I mean,
yeah.
are you
Oh
sure
yeah.
that all of them were unloaded, or have there been times that ones were loaded?
Um. Oh yeah. I mean, for this one, I definitely I had just turned 16, maybe in this. It was in the summer in July, so I was definitely careful. And the first thing I said before we even started was I made sure they were unloaded and a whole bunch of other stuff. And it was, after that I was just kind of like whatever. But definitely have done videos where the artists are just like, yeah, I don't want to unload it because of where we were at or whatever that might have been. But definitely sketchy. Definitely, as when I was younger, getting in, like, doing more and more of it, I wasn't as nervous and I was probably a little bit more reckless when it came to it, just because I didn't have the thought of so many things that could happen. But as I got older, it definitely was something that I was more careful about, and it definitely still to this day, preferably would not want to do a video with guns in it like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, definitely. I've had my times. I've had guns go off. Yeah, it's not a fun not a fun thing to be around.
Well, that's what I mean. I can only imagine. I talked with there was a photographer in the Birmingham area one time that he like a lot of his photography revolved around sort of environments where guns and drugs were definitely present, and that was sort of what he was documenting were lifestyles that those kind of elements were present, commonly present, and he talked about basically this sense of like I'm trusting them because they're trusting me,
Correct.
in the sense of who he was focusing on, and that
Correct.
mutual respect for each other is sort of what resonated for him at least, and
Yeah.
with the people that he was around because they were like these subjects that he was sort of focused on were literally letting him into their home, and so
Exactly.
that he could document sort of their lifestyles and their experiences and tell their stories.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he literally there's one picture where his camera's staring right down the barrel of a gun, and he said like I know that gun was loaded and the finger was on the trigger. Like
Mm.
there was that sense of like
Mm-mm.
anxiety, but at the same time there was this. He said it was trust.
Yeah. I would definitely. That's a great way to put it, and it's probably what kind of kept my nerves down a little bit when it came to doing videos like that or just being around people like that. But I can definitely say, man, like as it as the as like time has gone on from the past, like past then, like it's you just can't really put your trust into people nowadays. It's definitely changed a
Yeah.
lot.
Well, and
And
go
the
ahead.
main thing is like you can be around somebody you trust that hired you, but you don't know who their friends are and you don't know who they have around or if the house that you're at is even, theirs, or there's a whole bunch of aspects that you have to think about that you might not think about
Yeah.
at first.
Well, and accidents happen. I mean, that's what I think of is, man, I mean,
Yeah.
it's relatively easy for that kind of stuff to happen. So, but obviously that video has led to quite a bit of success for a lot of the people that were involved in it, but specifically, I mean, it led to a lot of opportunities for you from then. But I do want to talk about like Waterwippin Evan. Where did that come from? How did you define your brand? Uh, I love this middle photo of you where you've taken sort of the water whipping effects and put
Yeah.
it in and around you. Your logo has sort of grown over the years and been refined over the years. And do you even go by this now? Because I see like on your Vim, I always want to say Venmo, but your Vimeo, like I see you're going by like your actual name more so now.
Yeah.
Is that something like? Are you still using Waterwippin Evan? Um,
Yeah.
and how did you develop the brand and how's it going now? I guess I would say.
So the name, the name came from another guy that was local in Birmingham. And when I was in school, I knew this girl from Pelham and she dated this guy. I don't know how. I don't know how I found him on Instagram, but his Instagram name was Waterwhippin Randy, and then we just ended up. I guess we ended up like following each other on Instagram, and I was taking photos at the time, and he was taking photos, and it's almost kind of like my inspiration of just like how the photos looked, and you know, I would follow that, and he just randomly DM'd me one day and was like, "Change your name to Waterwhippin Evan." Like nothing else, just that, and it happened, and that's how it happened. I just kind of ran with it, and I had it probably since seventh grade. So
Wow,
that's how
wow,
that, yeah, that's how that happened. And then I really just took it just because it was so different. I would say, or just like people were just like, why would you have that name on your Instagram? And teachers would talk about it, and everyone would say, everyone would call me that, like Waterwippin Evan. It's all I would hear, and I just kind of stuck with it and ran with the waves and my logo. I ended up finding an artist. His name's Aaron Kai, and he does those signature waves. And has done them for like Taco Bell and a whole Chris Brown's house, a whole bunch of stuff. And yeah, I just kind of took the Cali boy route and tried to like put it all together, water and make it look cool,
Yeah.
and just built it off of that. And so
Well,
now all
I
my friends call me Water, and just a whole bunch of yeah, it just stuck.
I have an issue with your logo though. That looks like a cannon, man.
It is. I know. And the thing is with that, when I first moved to LA, there was a photographer that I knew prior, and he lived in Utah, I believe. And he happened to be in LA, and I wanted some photos done of just myself, and he made this like montage of them. And he also took my logo and made the intro to it. So it had like my Waterwippin Evan logo intro into the little like photo montage. And so I just clipped that in Premiere and used it for forever. And I've just evolved it.
So
Yeah.
you're sticking with a Canon, even though currently you're rocking either a Red or a Sony.
Yeah. And I try to make it look generic, but obviously it's gonna, stick out
Yeah,
as a Canon, but I
I'm just
can't
kidding
really
with you, man.
change it now.
Yeah, Canons are great, especially the R series, which that looks like an R series
Yeah.
Canon. Speaking of, what's been your experience now with the FX3? I know you just recently purchased the FX3. You and I've DM'd back and forth asking about your experience using manual lenses because I've tried to do. I mean, I've been using the FX3 for gosh, I guess probably about a year now. And I love it, but at the same time, that monitor, built-in monitor, is horrible. And at least in my experience, and then trying to manually focus with just that and not having an external monitor, which it seems like that's sort of you're trying to do like a small set to be able to just run
Yeah.
and get this stuff. Has that been a challenge for you at all?
Um, Personally, no.
Okay.
I would definitely say it probably would be easier if it was just if I did throw an autofocus lens on there, but I think running with the Red for 2 almost 3 years and having to do small shoots all the way to big ones and just using my hand to focus nonstop is definitely helped a lot. But problems, no. I use the peaking setting on there to help,
Yeah. Yeah. I don't
but I'm
know.
just so used to it.
I may just be the old man. I don't know. But when I look at the peaking, I'm like, it looks like half the stuff's in focus, and I'm like, that I know not half of
Yeah.
it's in focus. I'm shooting at 1.8 or 2.8.
Oh yeah.
I mean, well, that's a question. Do you normally shoot wide open? Do you normally stop down?
Yeah. Wide open for
That's
sure.
tough.
I
That's tough
probably
to
don't
nail
go over
focus.
5.
Yeah.
So, but it definitely can get tough for sure. Sometimes I'm like, man, like I'll have issues, but it's not that big of a deal for me.
Yeah.
But
What
yeah.
are you still doing music videos a lot right now? Have you dabbled into like commercials? Have you gotten into film, short film, anything like that now?
Yeah, so just with the change in like I would say the industry and how it's moving is like kind of put music videos on the back burner at the starting of this year, just all because of TikTok and Instagram Reels and how easy it is to blow up on there. So everything's more focused on like short form content, like an Instagram reel that you would see for someone's music to like promote it. So music videos don't come as much as that does, but I've definitely moved into country and trying to get into that route right now, aside from doing all the rap stuff. Because after a while, just I feel like with my creativity and what I envision my work to be, it doesn't give me, it's kind of holding me back because I can only do so much with what they're talking about in their music.
Yeah. I know. I'm trying to see your YouTube channel specifically. I mean, you haven't really put anything out on Waterwippin Evan in like 3 years.
Yeah,
Um,
I would do it a lot when I started,
yeah,
but it was just something that it was hard to keep up with. And when you're working with artists that are bigger, they're not gonna let you put it on your channel or any of that. It's a
I
little
got you.
tough. The whole route for that is very hard.
Yeah. Well, then I see your Instagram is where I'm seeing more and more, and I do see some of these country songs. We were looking at this one earlier. I say country. I'm not so sure. Is this a
Pop.
country artist? Pop. Okay.
Yeah, pop.
But like that, this one's got the shot in it where I guess you did. Did you do a slow shutter effect on that, or was that something in
Yeah.
post you did?
So it was a static shot, and it was just two clips overlaid. So I did slow shutter for everyone walking up and down the stairs, and then we put her in the middle, and I overlaid those two.
Yeah, yeah. Now, are these the kind of things that are more and more like are these full length videos, or are these videos where you're cutting these up for short form content?
These are full length.
Okay,
I haven't even I haven't even gotten really into posting the short form stuff. I do have a good bit loaded up, but it just it definitely isn't like the route that I would want to move to. Posting stuff like that is just not how I see how I want people to see my work. But I'm trying to find my way in it right now.
I got
So
you. Well,
yeah,
we all have to evolve, I guess, a little bit.
yeah,
But I actually showed somebody the other day. I have a friend of mine, Colin. He actually got his start early on in similar kind of music scene that you've been in. His traditionally, or what you started in, and then I showed him Champions, and he was like, "Oh man, this guy's like he's really like." Redefined himself in some ways. Do you feel that? Do you feel like here recently you really have? I mean, we talked about the evolution as an artist, but do you feel like you have redefined yourself? Do you feel like you are redefining yourself, or do you feel like it's just like less of redefining and just more of like a next step?
I do think it's a redefining and just showing people that I'm obviously evolving and growing, but it also mixed in with the next step. It's just I don't really pay too much attention to just like how where I want to move in it. I just kind of go based off of how what is presented to me and what I think I can do with it. And it's definitely it definitely shows you know the the time and thought that I'm putting into it and trying to get better and better with with my work and what I want to show people. So it's definitely a mixture of it.
Are you you said earlier that you've been going back and forth between home and Nashville. Is Nashville where you're shooting a lot of your more country music videos?
Yeah. So Nashville is was my next step, and I had thought about it for probably about 6 or 7 months, and was just getting tired of the rap, and did have I did have a few country music videos under my belt, but just never fully went that route or tried. And I just thought, why not implement what I did with the rap videos into the country and how I tackled all of that and just see what I can do with it.
That's cool. I mean,
Yeah.
I think broadening yourself is obviously always a good thing to do. But also, if you have a real interest in creating certain type of videos, man, the only
Yeah,
way to do it is just get out there and do it. Now,
exactly.
did you break into this scene pretty easily? Was it one of those things that you were able? It keeps thinking I'm doing a thumbs up, but did you break into this pretty easily with people that were coming after you, or did you have to seek out these kind of opportunities?
I actually, it was actually fairly easy just due to like the network of people that I knew and that I was already working with. My first, the first one that came was a video with Colt Ford and this artist named Kid G. So that was my first country music video, and Colt Ford's a big, really big country artist. So I did that, and then, you know, I would say as the rap stuff started to die down, my friends were moving into country, and so it was really just kind of letting them know, hey, any work that you have that's country, throw it my way. Anything different other than rap, throw it my way. And one thing leads to the other, and I ended up just making the move, and it was easy. It's obviously not, the work isn't as easy, but it's really just knowing the right people.
Well, so much of music is storytelling, and
Yeah.
with music videos, it's all about visual storytelling, which I think translates pretty well to any kind of genre of music.
Yeah, it does.
So, all right, so we got to talk. No, I went the wrong way. We got to talk about this, okay? Do you recognize all of these images on here?
Yeah, wow. Yeah,
Okay, so
that bottom one, where was
thi-
that? Facebook.
this is your this is shared by Cole Peavy, man.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I remember that.
So
Wow.
yeah, this is Cole's gift, I think. I told him, I was like, dude, I need that. Can you get that to me?
Wow.
And so he shared it with me, and you took a hard fall that day, man.
Yeah, that was crazy actually. I totally forgot about that video.
Well, Cole and I, like I said earlier, we worked together, and I was telling him about getting, reaching out to you, and he was like, "Oh man, you got to get him on." And so he was really excited. I just texted him earlier saying, "Hey, we're going to be jumping on a call around 11." So he's pumped to sort of hear from you and see how you're doing.
Yeah,
He
man.
was the one, man. Whenever we were watching Champions, both of us were really just enjoying it, and he especially. I think he's definitely a supporter of yours, and y'all go a long way back. So
Yeah,
it
for
was
sure.
fun. It was fun to sort of see this and hear from him about you. So. But yeah, did you recover from this? Did your wrist?
Yeah, for
It
sure.
looks like you almost broke a wrist.
I know, right? I probably tried it again.
Well, and so much of your, I mean, I scrolled back on your Instagram, and you got quite a bit out in Alabaster at that skate park.
Veterans, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And then they just recently filled in the pool there.
Yeah, I saw that. I was there. I went there with my little brother maybe like last month, and they took all the fences down and
Yeah,
the trailer. It's not like a pay to skate type of park anymore. It's just a
right.
show up, which is a little crazy to me because I was there every single day, like every day until it closed. Every day after school. It was definitely crazy to see that.
Do you still skate? Is that something that you do out in LA often?
I would skate in LA, and I still have a skateboard, but I don't know. It's definitely something that I would like to do, but just obviously if time permits it.
Yeah. Have you
Yeah.
tried any of the electric boards?
Um, I've been on a few, but never like got into it.
I've
They're a
been
little
trying.
scary.
I've been trying to get Cole to one wheel with me. I love one
Uh,
wheeling,
my friend
and
just got one of those.
oh, dude, they're incredible. I love them. I go mountain bike trails. I hit mountain bike trails with them all the time, and they're
Wow.
great. They really are. Cole, I've tried to get him to go out because he used to skateboard with you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he won't. He's afraid of hurting his ankle. He got on it one time, stepped off, and I think it caught his ankle a little bit. He's like, nope, done. I was like,
Ooh.
man, it's amazing to ride. You got to try it.
Yeah, those definitely look fun. I don't think I've been on one of those.
Okay, well, listen, next time you're in the Birmingham area, hit me up and we'll go hit some trails, man. I think that would be awesome.
That
Maybe we can
sounds
even
yeah, that
talk
sounds fun.
Cole into doing it. So they're really fun to do. So all right, a couple of things I want to touch on. So I hope you enjoy some of these pictures.
Yeah.
I found your Facebook photography page.
Yeah.
It's still out there, and grabbed a couple of stills off of it. But what advice would you have for somebody that's just getting started in the creative space, maybe music industry? I mean, I know a ton of kids that were at Calera that, I mean, really just sort of looked at the route you were going and was like, man, that's what I want to do. I mean, I heard people say multiple times in my class that they were hoping to do music videos like Evan. What advice do you have for beginners, people that are maybe wanting to break into this arena?
I would say just the first thing is just with the creativity, and don't look at I wouldn't try to base your style off of somebody else's something that's already been done. Obviously have a good inspiration from somebody and just study them maybe, and just take your own route with it, and don't it's a lot of trial and error. So find what you like, what you think is a good style, and just try to perfect it. And the biggest thing is just worrying about what other people are going to think when it comes to that. Because one photo that you take or one video that you make, somebody might like it compared to you thinking it's bad, or you're nervous about posting it. It's just main thing is just pave your way through whatever, and don't wait. Definitely don't wait for anyone to. Don't wait on anyone. Basically, is what I like to say. Like I never waited on anybody. Obviously, got out of high school early and just went straight to it. What I thought I could do, and try to make something out of it. I was yeah. It's really just on how determined you are. So if you can mix the determination and not care as much what people think, and feel like you have a good style, just try to perfect it and go at it.
Did you deal with a lot of criticism throughout your career?
And it's in terms of
In like your style, your the videos that you were creating in general?
not too much. I never dealt with it too much for music videos. For photos, obviously, it was just, maybe a local photographer here and there, or somebody at school, or something like that. It was just starting something new that nobody did, and obviously somebody's going to have something to say about it. So that's
Yeah.
probably
I
all I dealt with.
I feel like school age is such a difficult time because like kids can be really mean. You don't
Yeah.
deal with that as an adult very often. I mean, most of the time people are too busy with living their own lives, doing their own thing that you really at least in my experience, I haven't seen criticism for what I do. If anything, I've just found a ton of support from people, especially other creatives. But it seems like high school, man, it's like kids can just be so hateful
Yeah,
and
it's
can
all
say
about what's
some really
cool.
awful things. Yeah,
It's
yeah.
all about what's cool and what's in. And if you're not doing what's cool or what's in right now, then nobody's going to care about it until you actually gain something off of what you're doing.
Well, and that's so wild because I think of when I was at Clear High School, the stuff you were doing seemed to everybody to be really cool, and it's crazy to think that just a couple years earlier, potentially, you were being criticized for
Oh
things
yeah,
that
it
you were
was
doing.
it was bad. High school and middle school was they were not the best
Hmm.
for me. I didn't yeah, it wasn't good at all. Nobody I mean I wouldn't say nobody liked me, but there was definitely a lot of just nonsense that I had to deal with, and you know, yeah, it's definitely crazy.
Did you have support that helped you through that time?
I had a lot of friends that were outside of school, and mostly at the skate park, so I didn't really like care too much. But I think the thing that bothered me the most was just having to go to school every day and see these people and deal with these people and be there.
Yeah.
because it was teachers that didn't like me. It was a whole bunch of stuff. So it was just, I didn't care too much as long as I didn't have to be there.
Hmm. That's it's painful, man. I mean, because being a teacher myself, or a former teacher, I'm you see these kind of elements where kids just they don't get the support from the classmates, or maybe they don't get the support from the staff, even like teachers themselves. And schools are supposed to be places where kids can grow and flourish and become, whatever it is that they want to become, and they're supposed to find a lot of support and structure that enables that. And instead, it seems like schools they struggle to create that for everyone, at least. And
Yeah, it's definitely like closed-minded, just society when it comes to that. I feel like
yeah,
a lot
it,
of stuff is not gonna be accepted.
well, and definitely not all schools are equipped the same way too. I mean, there's definitely. I mean, I've been around incredible teachers that can reach kids in places that no one else could have reached them, and then I've
Yeah,
also been around teachers that literally just show up and prop their feet on their desk, and then at three
yeah,
o'clock they walk out.
mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, not all classrooms are built the same whenever it comes to teachers in the classroom, especially.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely big difference when you have somebody that actually wants to be there and cares compared to just someone doing it to get by.
Yeah, yeah. Well, sorry, I know we're going into a whole nother arena. This that could
You're
be a
good.
podcast in and of itself. So tell me what's next for Evan Aparicio. Sorry, I always
There you
question
go.
myself every time I start saying it. Or what's next for Waterwippin Evan? If I'm curious to know, like, are you getting away from that brand? Um, are you transitioning that brand in more of a director role? Are you planning? I mean, you've already talked about getting more into country. Are there other types of video work that you're hoping to get into? What's up next? Is there stuff you already have on the docket coming soon?
Yeah, so probably about or in 2022 is when I started like an LLC to be a production company and everything like that. And my main vision with that was just kind of move away from the maybe not move away from the Waterwippin Evan, but have this other production company that maybe nobody really ties Waterwippin Evan to it, and I can tie my name to it, just me, and just kind of have that to build that out almost just how I have Waterwippin Evan built out. And I'm still in the process and still a thought process of just how do I bring them together? Do I bring them together? Do I just keep the name and have it like for fun and just go about it like that? So it's definitely still on the drawing board when it comes to how exactly I want to move about that situation. But yeah, that's really just building a production company and trying to build that out. And I feel like my move to Nashville might be, a better help for that to kind of start new with that. So I haven't thought too much about it in the midst of moving from LA to over here, but trying to build out a production company is the next thing on my list. And just putting all this recent work that I've been doing, short form content, there's a lot of stuff that's moving faster than I can get things together. So that's really just about all I have as of now on
Yeah.
there. Still a
Um,
lot, but
are
it's
are you still traveling with NLE Choppa, or is that
yes,
something that? Good.
I was just out there in LA for BET Awards doing photos. So I'm traveling a lot, but that takes a toll on you for sure.
Oh, I
It's
can only imagine, man.
mm, that's that's something that if I didn't have, I would say if I didn't just have the workload or just maybe notoriety that I do right now, it would be a little bit easier because that's a everyday thing. They never stop moving, so you have to be ready for it.
Yeah. Well, I invite you whenever you're in Birmingham again, man. I'd love to grab some coffee with you. I'll drag Cole out there with us. I'm
Yeah,
sure he would love to hang out with you again.
yeah, that'd be cool.
I would love it, man. If you're in the area, I go ahead and I'll go ahead and tell you this. Your episode's going to come out after this, but man, if you're in the area, July 18th, we're doing like a meetup. I've got a local brewery that we're going to be meeting up in Hoover at Brock's Gap, and we'll be doing. I've got a buddy of mine that's going to be fixing brisket plates out of his food truck, and
Yeah.
then we'll have some beer for everyone, and then Cole Peavy's going to be playing for us. So
Oh yeah.
he'll be doing some music. So if you're in the area July 18th, or if you just don't have anything and you can come down July 18th, man, it's a Thursday evening from like 6 to 9 p.m. So I would love
Okay.
to have you there if you're able to make it.
Yeah, for sure. I will definitely look on the schedule and see what I got going, but
Okay.
if I can make it, I will definitely be out there.
Yeah, you said you might be in Italy today whenever we were going to jump on this call.
Yes. So that's the thing. I have a lot of work that's coming up, and I just had to like try to pack it all in the first of this month, or like in the beginning of this month, to get it done before I leave, so I don't have to worry about anything. So that changed obviously, but yeah. So I'm going. I don't even know when I'm going to be able to go yet because I have to get my passport replaced. So
Wow. It's
yeah.
in that rough a shape you couldn't travel with it the way
Oh,
it is right
the
now.
oh no, the page with all my information on is completely ripped out of the detached from the from the passport, so it's not even like a passport anymore.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are you going down to New Orleans soon for that?
Yeah, I have to I have an appointment on the 10th,
Okay.
but I'm not sure how soon they're going to be able to give it to me. It's the only problem.
Yeah.
But and how much it's going to cost to get, try to get it
Yeah.
expedited, so yeah, it's
That's
going to
crazy.
be a trip.
All right. Well, this is my last question for you, and that's a. I hope that's an oldie but goodie kind of photo there. That I'm assuming that's when you were early in some of your stuff, right?
Photos. Yeah, that
Yeah.
was when I was doing photos, yeah.
So my question to you is, who inspires you? Like, who do you look at now for inspiration? And it doesn't always have to be in the creative, like a creative person that you look at, but in general, what inspires you? Who inspires you to sort of create what you create now?
I really my inspiration, it's like definitely a very wide range of just work. I don't have a specific person, just I'm too ADHD to just keep on to one thing, and I can never fully, just keep my hand in one thing. So it's more of just it's just daily inspiration from what I see and movies, and kind of finding what I like to watch. And I take a lot of inspiration from other people's work, whoever it is. I don't have a specific person, which is always weird to me because a lot of people ask me that, but I just go based off of what I see and how I feel and what I think I can do with it, or how I can spin something, Take one
Yeah,
idea that I see from someone and make it completely different, or make it my own in a certain way. It's a
I
little
got you.
yeah. I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know if it's just me being a creator and not like fully diving into other people's work, but I have a few like mentors that I definitely look up to in LA that have helped me out a lot, that I would definitely say is my inspiration. So, I mean, it's just about it.
Is there anybody that you work with or have worked with that you felt like really sharpened you as a creator or pushed you in a new direction that maybe made you stretch your skills a little bit?
I would definitely say NLE Choppa for sure. He
Yeah.
pushed the every aspect of everything, and like gave me a lot of knowledge on just how to go about certain things, whether it's life or work, and just opened up the gates to what I can do, and kind of giving me the key to make it happen
Well, I
and
noticed
figure it
there was
out.
there was some of the videos that I think the one we were looking at earlier, I think a lot of your videos with him, he seems to be almost like a co-director. Is that right? Bryson
Yeah,
Potts. Is that
yeah,
him?
yes.
Yeah.
So he'll have a concept of something and basically hand it off to me, and we'll just go back and forth with it, and I'll add what I know like we can do to it that's practical, and just put my spin on it, and we just go together with it. So
Yeah.
he
So
definitely,
he's a
you go ahead.
creative as well, I would say.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah. That's
It's
cool.
pretty cool. You don't find a lot of artists like that.
Yeah, somebody that's got a vision for what it's going to look like, as well as, I mean, because I would imagine a lot of them probably just say, "Hey, here's my song. How can you make
Yeah, and
something cool?"
it sometimes, and the thing with that is like they'll say that and won't give any context. Usually there's a brief, like even when a label will hit me up with an offer for a video, there's a brief on it, like for like concept ideas, etc. And that's how you do them, unless it's just a raw project. But yeah, it's working on projects like that. Artists will it's a little weird because if they don't give you anything and you give it to them, and then they're just it's you could be completely off, and it's a little stressful because you
Yeah.
want to hit what they want with no idea.
Yeah. Well, especially if they don't know what they want, then
Exactly.
the only thing they know is what they don't want, and if the first thing you
Exactly.
deliver is what they don't want, it's that gets frustrating.
Yeah. Definitely a stressful part of it.
I can imagine. I can imagine. Well, Evan, I appreciate you joining me on this call today, man. I know you got a lot going on, and a lot of work probably on your docket. Maybe some editing waiting for you to get into, but I
Yeah,
appreciate you taking
yeah,
the time
definitely
today.
today. For sure. But yeah, man, I appreciate it. And I'm always here whenever you want me to hop on or anything, really. I
Yeah.
enjoy it.
Well, I think your story is really interesting, and I mean, I love the fact that you are at least your origins are local to Birmingham, and I think the work you're doing, the work you have done, is it's really I think a testament to sort of just your grit and determination, to find a way. I mean,
Especially
from
from Kalira.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I think there's some obviously there's great people all over and some talented people in all areas. Um, but I think just it sounds like the uphill battle that you've sort of always fought, um, definitely, you know, shows itself. But then at the same time, the fact that you sort of overcome a lot of challenges, from your years in school to probably not really knowing what direction to go whenever you did start creating content, and probably the way that it came suddenly, and uh, I don't know, it just seems like you always just figured it out and moved forward.
Yeah, it's just problem solving is a big part of it. Just got to roll with the punches on everything and keep going.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, like I said, man, whenever you're in Birmingham, please, I would love to grab some coffee with you sometime,
Yeah, for sure.
and like I said, on the 18th, man, if you're able to make it, would love to see you there.
Yeah, for sure. I will probably have an answer on that this week. So yeah,
Awesome. Awesome. Well,
sounds
again, thank
good.
you so much. I appreciate you, man.
No problem, man. Thanks. Have a good
All
day.
right.